Routing the changes, full search capability. We do write a little bit of information to the back office. We might be actually taking that little bit off. We control our back office data very, very tightly. And in fact, when someone keys information in the back office, it actually goes to somebody else to verify what they've keyed in is correct. It's critical that what we hold about a client, as we call them, is correct. So they can update a notes field at the moment, but there's debate whether we should actually not let anyone actually update anything out in the field. Easy to implement. You can deploy it over the air. If you've got upgrades, you can send it out via your base server and things like that. The training, since I was involved in the training ages ago, and essentially what we'd done, because there was a big debate about these are people who don't use a computer, not trying to offend anyone, but the typical demographic of our care worker is a lady in her mid-50s, manual worker all her life. So she's not been used to sitting in an office, she's not used to email, she's not used to a computer, you know, all these sorts of things. And there was a lot of concerns about how are these people ever going to figure out how to use a BlackBerry. It has been fine, there's not been any major issues. We gave them the BlackBerry and said, here's your new phone. We left them with their new phone for a couple of weeks to get familiar with their new phone. And then we got them back in and said, okay, here's how we would like you to contact the back office. We put all the email addresses in it for them so it was nice and easy and all the rest of it. And of course that all went to the applications and so on. I've got some screen docs of the application pretty soon, but it's very, very simple. It's not, you know, widgets and rolling your finger over it and all that sort of thing. It's nice and straight to the point, basically. Security was essential to us. Why BlackBerry? I suppose you could say security. We had the BlackBerry infrastructure in there. It's easy for us to centrally manage. We have a central server that we can manage everything from. We can kill devices just over there from our own servers and things like that. We also found them to be run themselves to be very supportive. It wasn't a case of if the development team had any kind of an issue that they had to dig for the information too much. They would put you right through to the guy in Canada, which is where they're based. They'd put you right through to the guy who actually knows what he's talking about, and would just tell them what they had to do. So it was a very, very supportive organisation to work with. That's a rough timescale, and I've probably had this slide in the go for a wee while, because really the numbers are starting to fall again. We peaked at about 300, it's now going back down. We've got about 80 BlackBerries sitting there at the moment that aren't actually with a user. We're going to pilot some stuff with them anyway, just in the meantime, because we've tied to the airtime contract. But we started rolling out using a particular technology. It didn't work very well. It was a Microsoft technology for anyone that's interested. We had all sorts of issues with it. We killed the deployment and changed to not being a developer as a Java-based tool that we're using now. Here's some of the benefits which I've alluded to along the way. That obviously got the figure in there. 1 hour per coordinator per day, 2,500 per year per coordinator. And they got a calculator. But it's a big saving, and the big saving is only being realised when you can actually take the coordinators out. You're not actually saving the money at that point, but it has enabled us to do that. It's made their life a lot easier, much faster response time. The data is 100% accurate. Security and client service. Right, flip on. This is what the application looks like. It's straightforward, and we're actually quite proud of the fact that it's straightforward. It's got two main elements to it. Client changes at the top, which is information that gets routed to the device. If they get a change that's appropriate to them, we've made the device buzz as well, because they were complaining they have to log on and everything to check if they've got any changes, so they get the wee buzz and things like that as well now. And searching all clients, which is essentially a database lookup. A little feature which took about 5 minutes, I think, to create, but is very handy for the end user, is useful contacts. And we've just got a central database of key contacts that this type of staff member would want to deal with. So rather than them all trying to get all of these numbers and take them all on the phone, but we just go in there and they're all listed for them and they can just phone them from there. So it's very handy, although very basic technology wise. What we do is we list the client changes on the screen. It's slightly unfortunate that that black box there is on top. It gives you basic information about the client on the first screen, so just their name and address and a couple of basic bits of information about them. A lot of the time you don't actually need to know any more, or the care workers don't need to know any more. They can just accept the change directly from there. Problem is, what happens if they don't accept the change? And what happens if someone urgently needs help with toileting and they're just out of hospital and they're expecting someone to turn up and help them, and the person BlackBerry's broken or the application died for some reason? Not that it does, it's reliable, but there needs to be a fail-safe in there. So what happens is, if they don't accept that change, within half an hour it gets routed to their boss, who's an area manager. At the same time as that happening, there's a console in the back office, a red, amber, green console, and the people who still exist in the office to handle requests, who used to be on the phone a lot, keep an eye on this console, and anything that's sort of going amber, turning red, that sort of thing, they make sure, they say, oh, hold on a minute, how come you've not picked up this change? Let's make sure someone's actually dealing with that, because we can't rely on the technology. Every now and again it fails for whatever reason, it's just, that's the way technology is. Typical screen, that's just a look-up of some of the sort of information that we hold on the client, date of birth, age and all the rest of it. We can drill into all sorts of different things about them, so their background, their care plan, their GP. Sometimes you're dual clients, so that's like you've got two people in the same house, we look after both of them, so why not deal with the two things while you're there? Stuff like that. I don't know who's a developer in here. Our developer's going on about Scrum. I don't know if that ticks any boxes for anyone, but they like that. And essentially what it is they do a little basic application, they show it to the user, they do a bit more, they show it to the user, and as they're building it, they actually build it towards the stage where the user has got what they want, rather than sort of detailing it all out in advance and then saying, ta-da! And the user goes, oh, well, actually, that's not what I was after. So very, very much a user-involved process and prototyping through using that method. E-router is just an example. Hopefully it's been a useful example of an application which is mobile application, but probably at the other end of the spectrum to an app you would download onto your iPhone. This is a business application for a business function, essentially extending the back office. Works fine in GPRS, which is very handy. A lot of areas don't have 3G and you need the performance to be fast. And you can also access back office systems. We're working with a couple of our back office system providers to extend the process of that back office system to field workers. A couple of examples of that is the people who I think called community alarms. People wear like a red button round their neck and they've got smoke detectors in their house and all this sort of thing. When a call comes into a call centre which we operate, a certain action is the result of that call, and quite often the action is send out a mobile responder to go and check the person and see if they're okay. So pushing that to BlackBerry, integrating with that system. Another one which is in progress at the moment, which is a good sort of time saver, is occupational therapists go out to people's homes. They assess the person in the home and say, for example, decide that the person needs a walking aid. They then go back to the office, onto their computer, onto the website. They go onto the website and see, okay, what walking aids are available and all the rest of it. They then have to contact the store and say, what are the delivery slots available. They then need to go back to the client and say, okay, we've got you such and such a walking aid. Does Tuesday morning suit you? No, does Thursday afternoon suit you? Etc., etc. So it's quite time consuming both in travel and in process. And what we're setting up round about there is something where on their BlackBerry they can go out, they can check the equipment is available in the store, they can check the delivery slots that are available, they can agree the delivery slot with the client while they're in the client's home, and then they're done, they can move on to the next one. So there's going to be good time savings round about that one. Other things is the camera, which is very handy. Public sector example again, not in care this time, but in the facilities management. The schools, as many of you will know, are by and large operated by private. The PPPs, Amy is in the Glasgow area, and we've got inspectors that go around to make sure that Amy are doing their job properly. So what they do is they look at graffiti in the walls and all this sort of thing. So the process at the moment is they go out, they have a look at the graffiti or whatever it is they're inspecting. They then go back to their car, they plug their BlackBerry into their laptop because our financial auditors don't give them a dongle as well. They plug their BlackBerry into the laptop to get a 3G signal if they're lucky. They then go through the various stages of connecting to the VPN to type it all into the system and then go and do the next one, which is a total pain in the neck, but it's probably, I don't know, 4-year-old technology which has been superseded with what we can quite readily do now. The way forward is the application on the BlackBerry. They pull out the client record, they say, right, I'm in the kitchen, boom, boom, choose kitchen, take the photograph of the graffiti. The voice dictation works, which is good. You can actually take a note, and nobody believes you that it works, but it does work quite well. Take a voice dictation note, press go. The girl in the office can still check it if they want, or they can just submit it and that can get sent straight to Amy as a formatted email, or hopefully we'll integrate with their system at some point. We're integrating with SatNav. This is one that we've got up and running at the moment. The situation within the council was that if a vulnerable child has to be escorted to school or to 3 minutes, I'll manage that. If a vulnerable child has to be taken to school, they would get a black cab to go and pick up a care worker, and then the black cab would go and get the get the child with the taxi driver. They take them to school and then they would drop them off. What we're doing now is we're operating that. We've had 130 cars, we've got 130 drivers, some of them used to be coordinators as it happens, but we've got 130 drivers, and they essentially get the job issued to their BlackBerry. We integrate with software called Tailmap, which is a sat-nav for BlackBerry that lets you access the APIs and so on. Open up, be able to go, and off they go. And Lone Worker, with a Captain 24 partner, we've got Lone Worker integration as well. That's just the back office that goes with the Journeys application, which we use for the child escort service. It's all kind of a drag and drop, who's available, drop things in and send it out to the BlackBerry. And that's it, 3 minutes easy.